everyone, Jason here with Omni Pools and Scapes. We just wanted to shoot a small introduction video to pool equipment and pool functionality for your review at a later date. So we'll go ahead and dive right into learning what we are looking at right now, what you're going to be looking at as a new pool owner. So one of the first things we're going to talk about is the actual equipment pad and what all of this plumbing and everything is over here, all of your equipment pieces, and again what all of these valves mean. So we'll go ahead and dive right in. The first part you'll see is what we call the suction side of your pool. This is where the water comes in from your pool, goes into your pump, comes back out of your pump, goes into your filter, out of your filter. If you have a heater, it will then go into your heater, circulate, come out of your heater, go back into what type of chlorination system you have, and then back to your pool. So it's just a big circle with this equipment. And we label each one of these for you. So this particular setup we're looking at now is nice because you're going to be able to see how, if you have a spa or other water features, you want to situate those valves at the same time. So first thing is we have our pool main drain that is labeled with a valve. The valves, if they're always going parallel with the plumbing, it always means they're open. If I turn this off perpendicular with the plumbing pipe, that drain pipe or that suction pipe is now shut off. I turn it back on and it's still running good because the pump is primed. So you have your pool main drain and your pool skimmer. These are always on. If you're vacuuming, you can turn your drain off and keep your skimmer on, which will be more suction power from the skimmer itself, allowing you to vacuum your pool manually. But most of the time you want to keep both of these open unless you're vacuuming or you have a lot of debris on the surface of your pool and you want that skimmer to work extra hard. Okay? So these two are open, they're going into your pump. So we'll talk about the pump for a little bit. This is a variable speed pump, meaning it does have different speeds that you can set. We like to set this pump up from the factory on a 16-hour out of 24-hour a day cycle. That should rotate your pool 3 or 4 times minimum per day, meaning every single ounce of water comes through this system and goes back into your pool, keeping it clean. So the way it does that is just by running and again sucking in the water, pushing it back through the filtration system and back through the pool. If we want to, there's a basket right here that we'll get a close-up on that is to keep clean. This area right here, if you ever notice any debris in here, you simply shut your pump off with the start-stop button and you open this valve or this top, which can be a little hard sometimes. You'll see there's an O-ring underneath there that needs to stay clean of any debris. You can sit that down right there. Also, another thing, you'll hear that water draining right now. If your pump is high above your pool, it's always nice to turn off both valves from the suction line. That creates an air vacuum, which will allow that water not to drain. Okay? You take out your skimmer basket, or this is actually your pump basket, and just clean out the debris lightly. You can rinse it out with the hose if you'd like to get it that clean, but this is for getting any large debris out. You'll see this is pretty clean. So there's a hole in the front. That's the only way it'll go back in. You just stick it back in. Okay. You put this back on. And if you put it on this way, with this little dog ear right beside this, and you crank it down until it gets to that and touches it, that's tight enough. So then all I have to do is hit the start button, and you'll hear it start to kick on. As I do that, I'm not freaking out, and I'm going to go ahead and open my skimmer valve, which will allow the pump to start priming again. It has to get all the air out and then get water in here. That's why you shut those off that I did not do first. As soon as you shut the pump off, you shut those off, and it'll help that water stay in the system. Now it's going to take it a minute to prime, but we'll watch that get going so you can see it happening. It's starting to pull a little bit of water in there. The good news is this pump knows when it gets too hot, and it'll shut itself off. So if that happens, you just shut it off, shut your valve, reopen the top, and fill it with water until it overflows. Once it starts overflowing, then you put this back on, close it, turn your pump on, and open your valve again. That helps with the priming. It's going to prime up right now. It's starting to pull. You may be able to hear it with the audio here. But you'll see, this is the water starting to prime. So now it's nice and full. I can open my other valve. And I'm going to do this slowly. If I open it really quick, it would lose prime again. But you'll see it's probably going to pull, it may pull a little bit of air. Yep. See how I pulled some air? And then it's going to catch up. Because now it has two lines sucking. So since it's pulling pretty good, I'll go ahead and turn it open. So we have very good prime right now. We have no air in the basket at all, which means we have a great suction input. The pump is working good. It's going through the filter. So this is the keypad for your variable speed pump. There is instructions that are pretty easy to follow on the back side of the cover. You just open this up, and in here you'll see directions. However, we'll go through the how to program real quick. So you hit the display button, you hit the 1, and you'll see the speed is flashing. We set ours at 2,150 RPMs. Okay? If you hit the 1 again, you'll see what time you want it to come on. We set ours for 8 a.m. Then duration means how long do you want that pump to run? 16 hours. If in the spring or fall time, you want your heater to be running all night long, you'll need to change that to 24 hours. Because if you wanted your heat to be on all the time and you kept it for 16 hours, once this pump shuts off, your heater will automatically shut off without having any water flow to it. So if we want to set the actual time, we hold the display button down and we set it for 12 hours. And then we hit it again and it tells us what time it is right here. Which, let's check, it is correct, 12:27 p.m. And this is our screen. How bright do we want our screen? We set it 100% so it's nice and easy to see in the sun. That's it for programming the pump. We set that speed, we're going to hit the 1 and start. And that will automatically start that pump. It will automatically start into a prime mode, which means it's a very high RPM, 3,450 RPMs. You can let it run, it's not going to hurt your pump. However, if you don't like it to run because it's already primed like ours is here, you can just hit the 1 button again and it'll automatically take it down to that 2,150 RPMs or whatever you have it set for. Number 2 and number 3 will be more in an advanced video to show how to set those for a different type of water feature. We'll go through that at a different time. But now let's move on up to our filter. So we're going to talk about the filter for a second. It has multiple different parts to it. This is a multi-port valve for a sand or glass or diatomaceous earth filter. We use glass in ours, but you can use different types of media in these filters. However, you can see that the start is at 10 and the clean filter is at 20. So that means that when it gets to that pressure on your pressure gauge, it's time to backwash. That's basically the only thing you have to keep up with on this filter is backwashing your pool, which instead of taking the water down through, which is what's happening right now, it's pushing the water down through and it's filtering as it goes because this is full of media. As it gets to the bottom, it comes back up through another tube and back to our pool. When you backwash it, it comes in and goes backwards. It goes through the tube at the bottom, pushes all the dirt up, pushes it back through, and actually this is our backwash line. So you can have two different types of backwash line. You can have a plumbed in backwash line if your existing downspout will handle the water, or you can have a small blue hose that folds up and then you have to unfold it if you're going to backwash. This one has a plumbed in one because the drain pipe that they put in here will handle the water flow. So let's go through backwashing. So every time we mess with anything here or down in the pump, what do? We shut the pump off. And again, remember, how do we shut the pump off? We are going to shut the pump off and we're going to turn off both suction lines if you have them. That way you don't lose prime. Okay, and we're going to go back up here. We're going to take our multi-port and you push down. Okay, and you always turn it clockwise. There's a gasket inside here that will last longer if you always go clockwise. So we're going to turn it all the way to backwash and we're going to let it go. When we do that, again, remember, now it's going to push the water up through the filter and clean it. What do we do now? We just start the pump by start. As the pump starts, we open our valves back up. You don't have to be in a hurry. It'll start, and then we're going to hit the 1 button to slow the pump down. We do not want to backwash at a primed RPM. So when we backwash, you'll see this eye right here. This eye is telling us how dirty the water is that's coming back. And this is our sea glass. We like to just put our fingers through on the back side, and as you can see, you can clearly see when this becomes clear. Typically 2 to 4 minutes, depending on how wet and how dirty everything gets. And how often you backwash is how long that takes. But you can just stand here and look. This pool was just backwashed. It's clean already. So we're going to go ahead and that's our backwash, but not the end of how we backwash. So it's clear now. What do we do before we mess with this? We stop the pump every time. So we're going to stop the pump. We're going to turn our valves so that we don't lose prime. And then we take our multi-port and we turn it back into rinse. This is just like rinsing your hair after you shampoo it. You're rinsing it out now. We backwashed it. Now we're going to rinse it. Okay, and it's still going to kick it out right through here. So we do the same thing again. Start. As the pump starts, open the valve. Hit the 1 button to slow the pump down. And we're going to rinse it. You already know you cleaned it back here. So you're going to rinse it for about 60 to 90 seconds. Should be plenty of time. Once we do that, what do? We shut the pump off again. Stop. Turn our valve. Push back down. And go back to filter. Once we go to filter, we're back in the normal mode every day. Nothing to change. There are other spots on here, waste, which is if you don't have an automatic pool cover and your pool gets too much water, you can shut your pump off because you're going to move this, move it to waste, and what that does is that sucks the water through your input, does not mess with your sand or filtration system, but just takes it out. So you're basically just lowering your pool water. That's what waste is for. There's open, which we don't mess with until the winter, close, which is the same thing, and recirculate. Recirculate is if you wanted to bypass this filtration system for some reason, you would go into recirculate. That's it. For some reason you have some bad sand and you don't have time to change out the sand, but you want to still recirculate your water, you would use that. But other than that, all you're doing with this mainly is filter, backwash, and rinse. So now we're going to discuss the heater. We just got finished kind of going over the backwash. So with anything now that we want our pool to start circulating again, put it back in the filter, hit the start button. When we hear it back going again, open our valves. We can hit the 1 button to slow the pump down. And then we're going to go over here and speak about the heater. This particular pool that we're looking at right now is a gas heater, so you're going to get more direct heat, just like cooking. It's going to cost a little bit more. It's not going to be quite as efficient as a heat pump, but again, you'll get that instant heat. Both a heat pump and a heater are very similar to control-wise. It's like a thermostat in your house. You're going to have a pool on or a spa on button. So if you have a spa, you can have this preset to a higher temperature. If you have a pool only, you just keep it on pool, and you're going to have a heater off. So we're going to turn our pool on, and we're going to go heat up. So right now, it's 92, but you're going to hear this heater kick on because I just cranked it up to 94. Heat pump's going to work the same way. You're going to start hearing it. That's it. You want to go down to 90. That's great. Most people keep those pools between 84 to 90, 92. Some people like it a little warmer, some people like it a little cooler, but that's the standard thing. The water just goes through here. If for some reason your water pressure goes below, your heater will automatically kick off. So it knows when and when not to work. And once we go through the heater, it's heating the pool water. It's going back into the pool, keeping you nice and warm for those spring and fall months to get an extra 2 months here in Ohio, at least with the heater or heat pump. We're going to come back over here to some plumbing and go through our chlorination system now. This is what we call a check valve. This does not allow any chlorine or chemicals to go back into the heater. So that's nice to have just to keep the longevity of this in case you have your water running off. But this particular pool has a salt cell, and what a salt cell does is it takes a saltwater pool, which is a little bit smoother on your skin, a little bit less maintenance, and it takes that salt and turns it into chlorine. You still have a chlorine pool, you don't have to actually maintain the chlorine levels the same as a chlorinator. The salt cell does it for you. But this Pentair salt cell has a few items on it here at 20, 40, 60, 80, and 100% output. That means how much chlorine is it making? This is something that will take you a little bit of time to figure out because depending on your pool size, how much use you use it, do you have an auto cover, how much sun do you get, how much chemicals or how many debris do you get, this is going to change. We cannot tell you how to set this. We typically set it on 20 or 40%. You'll have to keep maintaining the pool to learn how that works. If you go up to 100%, it's like shocking your pool. So it'll give you a burst of chlorine after a party or something. It's nice to do that. But this one only needs to run at 20%. It's also going to show you your flow. Is your water flowing through this mechanism correctly? It's going to tell you, is it need cleaned or not? As you can see, you're supposed to maintain this by acid washing it every 3 months. You take these off right here, and you clean the inside of the salt cell with acid, muriatic acid. And it's going to tell you, is it too cold of water to actually chlorinate? If it's going to be too cold of water, it won't even work. And last but not least, it's going to tell you what is your ideal salt count. Your salt count is good or low. This is where you may need to add salt to the pool, or sometimes if it's a little bit high, it may flash, and you may actually have to drain some water and put some fresh water in to lower the salt. So that goes back through, creates chlorine, and goes back to your pool. So like we talked about in the beginning, we actually have a nice setup here that we can talk about because there's a spa on this particular pool. Now this particular spa does not have a spillover, so you have to think about this as a self-contained unit using the same system as the pool, meaning you can only run the spa at one time, or you can only run the pool at one time. You cannot run both at the same time. If you run both at the same time, you're going to have a spillover into the pool. This particular pool does not have that. So we're going to show you how to handle different water features and things like that. Again, always shut your pump off when you're messing with the valves. So we turned our pump off. We're going to turn our valves off. Okay, we're going to keep this off for a second, but we're also, this time, we're going to turn our pool return off. The reason we're doing that is because when we start it back up, we're going to start our spa. So we're going to want our suction from our spa turned on, and then we're going to want the return to the spa. That way, what we're doing is only circulating the spa water. So we'll go ahead and turn our pump on by hitting the start button, and we will wait. We heard our pump start. We're going to crank it up. Looks like we have good suction, and we're going to go ahead and open our spa. And that's it. Now if this were a spillover spa, we would actually turn off the spa suction and turn on the pool suction and return it back to the spa. That way we're taking water from a large body of water, and we're returning it to a small body of water, which is going to put more water and it's going to spill over. If this were, say you had deck jets or laminars, or we do a lot of fire bowls, that would be the same thing. As long as it can spill over into the pool, you'll keep your pool returns on, your pool suctions on, and you'll turn on your water features, your deck jets, your laminars, your water bowls, your spa, whichever one of those you would like to. If you have a spa like this one that does not spill over in the pool, you only want to have the spa on at one time and the pool off, or vice versa, which is where, again, we're going to stop our pump. We're going to shut all of our valves. Everything is off because it's all perpendicular. We're going to start our pump again. As our pump starts, we're going to open our pool skimmer, pool drain, and our pool return. And we're going to slow our speed down. Sorry, we're going to slow our speed down on the one, and now everything is flowing through the filter, back to the heater, through the salt, and back to the pool. Coming from the pool again, going to the pump that we talked about, into the filter, heater, salt cell, back to the pool. So the next thing we're going to discuss is going to be our electrical section, which right here at this one, we have 4 boxes you're going to see. Our first box you'll see is our salt water generator. This takes 110 volt and turns it down to 12 volt to run our salt system. The next one is our light transformer. This takes 110 volts and turns our lights back down, our LED lights, to 12 volt. Our Pentair and Teleconnect, which is our smart device that you can use your lights only with a smartphone, tablet, anything like that. Or you can upgrade to a full Pentair automation if you have a lot of automation. And then last is our breaker box. So I will open each to show you. First we'll go ahead and open our breaker box, which you just push this pin, push down, open. We always have everything labeled in here These are your breakers in case you ever have a breaker go out. They are GFCI protected here, and there is a test on each one of them. Okay, so you'll see this is our pull pump, this is our heater, this is our teleconnect panel, our chlorinator, our pool cover, and our lights. To shut this back up, you just shut the lid, push up on it, make sure that the panel underneath is sticked in, which it did here. That locks, and it's locked. The next one is our IntelliConnect. So we're going to show you how to manually do your lights. Again, labeled in here for you. The light relay can manually be turned on or off by just clicking the button. In the Pentair manual, you can find a spot of how many times you click this on and off will be what color the light changes to. If you have this set up on your smartphone and you say, turn my lights blue, you could come over to this box and listen to it, and you would hear it click off and on that same amount of times to actually change that light bulb blue. That's how LED lights work. But if you're just doing it manually, you just come over here, click that on, and if I want to look at your how many times on and off to get your different colors. The pump always stays on. If this is not on, you have no power to your pump. So this always stays on. This stays off until you want it. We'll go over the application at the other instruction of the advanced instructional video later. That's it for the lights. Nothing to do here. These are just low voltage transformers. That's everything you need to know about the electrical side. So here we are, we're at one of our fiberglass pools, and we just wanted to go through kind of all the functionality of the actual pool itself. Your vinyl liner pools or your gunite pools are going to be very similar to the features that we're going to go through right now. Just the inside shell of the pool is going to be a little different. So first thing that is very important, probably one of the most important things with a fiberglass pool, is what we call our sump pit. We install a sump pit, which is a tube that goes down beside the outside of the pool shell, and what that does is allow us to make sure that we don't keep any groundwater around the pool. If we have more groundwater than we do water inside, it's able to make that pool float, is what we call in the industry. It does take quite a bit of pressure, but it can happen, and it can actually lift up concrete and everything because the pressure of water is very strong. So this sump pump pit, all you do is take the lid off, and you're going to drop a small 8-inch sump pump down in and just run a hose out to your ground and just take that water down so that you make sure that you don't have any standing water around the outside of the pool. Again, fiberglass pools, this is very important. You want to make sure you keep this maintained at a low level, and especially after a rain or the springtime here. We want to make sure we're checking that. And always keep your pool level high as well. The next that you'll see on the opposite side on this pool is our skimmer. Our skimmer is the part that actually skims the top of the water and keeps the water free of smaller debris that float on top. This brings the water through the mouth of the skimmer, which we want to keep our pool level water at least halfway up or 3/4 of the way up our mouth. Inside here, you will see that you have a skimmer basket that you just lift up, and this one's very clean. You just take the debris out and throw it to wherever you would like, if it's in your mulch bed or if it's in the yard for you to mow it, wherever you're going to set that debris, and put that skimmer basket back into the skimmer. Again, what that's doing is that's collecting all of the larger debris that may get in your pool before it goes through the plumbing pipes. And just keep that lid back on there. That's basically all your skimmer does. That is one of your inputs, your suction lines. Your next suction line is actually in the pool, and you'll see down there are two main drains. All those are for is water circulation and to suction up the water to go back to the pump and help the circulation of the pool. So now we've talked about our suction spot, which is the first thing we talked about on our equipment segment, and now we're going to show what it looks like when we return water back. You'll see some rippling on the surface right here. We did that to show you that the return is pushing water back. There's 3 returns in this pool, and we want them to spin counterclockwise, not towards the skimmer. We want the water to circulate and the skimmer to do its own thing. But that is where the water just comes back to the pool. If you're running your heater, you'll get your heat from that. The next thing you'll see here on my side, which is the house side, which is typically where we like to install those, are the lights. There are 3 LED low voltage lights in this pool. Again, we went over how those get controlled manually, and if you have the app, you can do it on your smartphone or tablet to control those. But those are usually facing away from the house so that you get the glow outwards. So one of the last things we're going to talk about today is going to be our cover. Our cover is an automatic cover on this particular pool. You get a lot of benefit from that. You get heat retention, chemical retention, water evaporation, and it's a lot safer, meaning someone can walk across that without falling in. The way it works is it is locked, so it is in a locked lid. Obviously you don't want to keep your key out unless you're using it, but you just flip this up and it literally has the words cover or uncover. So right now we're going to cover our pool, meaning we're going to shut our pool cover, and all it does is pull ropes down each side back to our motor that is housed underneath of our flush lid, and it's going to pull that cover back across the water, and when we stop, it'll stop at the end, and you'll be able to walk across that pool cover, and we'll show you that in a second. And it is going to have some wrinkles in it. The reason why the wrinkles are there is because if it was taut, it wouldn't be able to open. It has to be able to rest on that water to be able to move back and forth. So you're going to have some wrinkles in it. That cover has what we call a 6 to 8 inch slack when they put it in there. This thing is, again, you're able to walk on this cover so that you can't fall in. This is the whole point of the safety cover. If this wouldn't work, there would be no point in it. Again, other things, but this is why the safety bit comes in. There's some municipalities that don't make you have a fence if you do a safety cover because of how safe they are. This has been Jason with Omni Pools and Scapes. We just wanted to do a quick introduction to your pool so that you can keep this and reference this a lot easier than maybe having to get on the internet. This is going to be a good reference material for you. If you have any other questions or anything, you can reach out to us at any time at omnipools.net or 614-300-POOLS. Thanks a lot, and thanks again for your business.